Everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host, John, and today on the channel, we're going to be talking about Blaxploitations Classics Volume 1, which is going to be coming out on May 20th from Shout Studios. And I happen to be a pretty big fan of some Blaxploitation films, so I got really excited when this was coming out. And this isn't something that Shout Studios is brand new to. They actually have been giving us a lot of collections of films which are very similar to Blaxploitation films, like the martial arts films of the late 1960s and the 1970s. They kind of go hand in hand with each other. They're kind of low. They're usually pretty low quality. They had a pretty small budget, but they also did make a big impact on society, especially at the time. And Blaxploitation Classics Volume 1 is really exploring those Blaxploitation films that are classics of the 1970s, mostly from the AIP studio. There have been other Blaxploitation films released in the past that aren't in this collection that would be considered classics, like Shaft, or some of the Rudy Ray Moore stuff has been released by Vinegar Syndrome in the past. But this is a really nice collection filled with a bunch of classics, not some of the world's biggest ones. Like one that I think a lot of people are going to notice that's missing is Foxy Brown, which I'm assuming since this is labeled Volume 1, we'll get Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, something very similar to what Shout Studios has done with the martial art films collections that they've had come out, which, I've said in the past are not necessarily my film. So this one was speaking a little bit more to me. And when this first got announced, this artwork wasn't the artwork that they were going with. They were going with some animated versions of some of the characters that were in these films, in the 6 films that are in this collection. But it got a lot of blowback, so they clearly just decided to go with a plain box, which is fine. But I didn't mind that animated artwork, and they clearly still committed to it, because when you go into the menu system, they still have all those animations in there. They just removed it from the exterior box art. And there's 6 films in this collection. Across 110th Street, which is one of the most important and most famous Blaxploitation films. I would argue that's one of the ones that kind of crosses over and is actually just a genuinely very well made film, and it's probably the best film overall in this collection. Then you also get Black Caesar and Hell Up in Harlem. Why do I bring those up together? Well, Hell Up in Harlem is the sequel to Black Caesar. You also get, which is my personal favorite in this collection, and what really sold me on it, was Coffy, which is a Pam Grier film, and Pam Grier is also one of the big-time actresses in Blaxploitation films from the 1970s. That's really where she became famous. That's the big reason why Quentin Tarantino wanted to cast her in Jackie Brown, because that's where he knew her from. Quentin Tarantino is a huge fan of these Blaxploitation films, so when you watch the movies, you can clearly see the inspiration on his films, especially when it comes to the crazy amount of violence in these movies. A lot of people complain about that with Quentin Tarantino. I guess they weren't watching these movies in the 1970s or didn't understand who Quentin Tarantino was paying homage to, and it's the films in this collection. Obviously, Across 110th Street, the song that's in the Across 110th Street is what opens up Jackie Brown. Pam Grier, one of the big stars of the Blaxploitation era, and she's got numerous films in this collection, 2 where she stars in it, not just Coffy, but Sheba Baby as well. And then the last one in here is Truck Turner, which stars Isaac Hayes, which is a fantastic film. We'll get into him in a second, because I'm going to do this a little bit different than I do my regular 4K Blu-ray reviews, because this is a 6-film collection, so I'm not going to give you guys a full film review and a full 4K Blu-ray review for every single film that's in here. It'll just be an unboxing. I'll tell you my overall thoughts on it. I'll give you some quick thoughts on each and every single film in there, so we'll go in it. And the first film in this collection is Across 110th Street, which came out in 1972. And this, like I was just saying, is the best film in here as far as the quality of the film goes. And it's a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. All of your extras are going to be on the Blu-ray disc no matter what. And there aren't many new extras throughout this. In fact, there's only one new extra. It's going to be on the Blu-ray for Across 110th Street, which is looking at the films of AIP. I believe it's about 40 minutes long. Very fascinating. If you want to know anything about the Blaxploitation era and where people were coming from at the time, and actually find out how successful some of these movies are, some of these movies were actually #1 at the box office in the 1970s, and you never hear about that. Blaxploitation films kind of come up as a chapter in a book or something like that. It was going on in the 1970s, but not enough people were shedding light on it. It's a shame, because these movies, for the money that they cost to make, are very well made. And, these actors obviously aren't the world's biggest actors, but a lot of people you would recognize. And Across 110th Street, there's a lot of people in here you would recognize. Anthony Quinn is the lead actor in this movie. At the very beginning of the film, there's a drug deal gone bad, and you stole $300,000 from the mob. It seems like everything's going to go pretty well. One of the guys working for the mob is Burt Young, which is pretty funny, 3 years before Rocky. And he's the one that they always show his dead body, so you always see Burt Young's dead body in the film, and he's doing a pretty good job dead acting, but things go horribly wrong right in the beginning. This drug deal looks like it's going to go pretty normal down in Harlem, but then two cops break in. Turns out they're not cops. They're there just to rob these people, take everything. It goes really worse than that because everybody ends up getting killed except for these two guys. They run downstairs into the getaway car, kill a couple more cops, and man, this is going to set off a chain of events for the rest of the film. A race between the mob trying to find those guys and the cops trying to find those guys. And it's exploring a bunch of different stuff because Yaphet Kotto, who I think is one of the most underrated actors of all time, he's also going to appear in Truck Turner. Well, he's the cop who gets put in charge of this, which really upsets Anthony Quinn because he's like, he's only getting the job because he's black. And then it actually turns out to be more than that. It's also because he's younger. They didn't just explore race in this movie, which I thought was pretty cool. They actually explored aging out. Once you're over the age of 55, like, that's it. You're too old. You better hit the bricks. And Anthony Quinn's like, I've built up relationships in Harlem. I can help out. I can really do this. And he's not even willing to cross Yaphet Kotto, even though the other cops are. He's like, no, like, this is his case. I'm going to help him out. And the movie itself is just very well edited, which is a surprise for these kinds of movies. A lot of great J cuts. There's one part where a guy's like, listen, like, he has inner monologue going and then he kind of jumps up and like he answers the question out loud that was in his head. Just love things like that. Very well edited film. As far as the 4K Blu-ray goes, you get HDR10 and Dolby Vision. I wouldn't say that this was the best looking of all the 4Ks in here, but I do overall think that this is the best film. And if you've never seen a blaxploitation film in your entire life, this is a good place to start because, like I said, it kind of can cross over into the mainstream in this kind of film because, yeah, it's a low budget type of movie, but it also was using a very unique camera for the time, a new camera that a lot of other studios would adapt, a smaller, quieter camera, and that's how they're able to get those really tight interior shots. Think of the scene in the ambulance in this movie. You know, you aren't able to capture that without a very small camera, and it did a lot of good work, and I really do think that that helps to make this movie stand out in a crowd of a lot of films that were low budget for the time. So across 110th Street, as far as the 4K Blu-ray goes, maybe not number one in this pack, but overall as a film, it is very good. And the next two films in the pack, we'll talk about them together, Black Caesar and Hell Up in Harlem. Black Caesar came out in 1973, and so did Hell Up in Harlem. That just shows you the quick turnaround of these films. We're able to get a sequel out really fast, mainly because we're doing a lot of guerrilla filmmaking. These movies both star Fred Williamson. He is the Black Caesar. He is the Black Godfather. That's how they're promoting the first film. This guy, just a regular low-level gang guy who wants to rise up and, you know, he wants to be the one to take over Harlem. That's what he's trying to do. He wants to become somebody who's equal to the mob. But they keep trying to tell him, like, that's not going to work out because you're a black guy. Well, he's there to prove them wrong. And, man, he sure does. I thought that Black Caesar was very good. I would say that these two films, overall, are the two worst in this entire collection as far as the film quality goes. But Black Caesar, I think, might be the best looking 4K in here. You do get Dolby Vision HDR10 on all of these scans, and then it's the downgraded version when it gets to the Blu-ray. So, like, if you come inside, just to make sure I keep showing you guys, that's the RX. So when you guys come inside, you get one 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc. The Blu-ray is always going to have the new scan, and for most of these, because we don't get new extras, all of your extras are just commentary tracks. You're going to find that on both the 4K and the Blu-ray for both Black Caesar, and then, of course, Hell Up in Harlem. I like the artwork on Hell Up in Harlem a little bit more. Hell Up in Harlem, you know, the thing is after the end of Black Caesar, I'm going to spoil the very end of Black Caesar, so if you don't want to know anything about that, you guys can skip ahead a little bit because the ending of Black Caesar leads right into Hell Up in Harlem. And I don't know, even though it came out and I'm not sure, even though they came out the same year, I don't know if they were planning on Hell Up in Harlem coming out because Black Caesar ends perfectly. We kind of think he's dead. We think our lead character is gone. He was set up by his wife, which, you know, they kind of explore that again in Hell Up in Harlem about how his wife set him up, but you know, he didn't treat her well, and it's very similar to The Godfather 2, so it's funny that they call this the Black Godfather because he's a terrible husband to her. Even though we're rooting for him, he's our hero, he treats her horribly. So you kind of understand why she does what she does, but of course you cross the wrong guy. In the second movie, very similar to The Godfather Part 2, they're taking her kids away from her, and I'm like, you don't fuck with the king, and unfortunately, that's what she did, even though she does not deserve what happens to her. A lot of the stuff you'll see in these movies are very much of the time. You'll see a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, a lot of homophobia. It's just of the time. I know some people who probably never seen these movies might be shocked to see it, like the overwhelming amount of violence. You know, even if you can get past some of the low budget filmmaking, a lot of people might be surprised to see that. They just have to understand it's of the era. And that's, you know, I assume when you're picking up a collection like this, you know, you're either trying to explore film history and understand blaxploitation films, or you actually want to genuinely check these out because you're a fan of them and you want to see the huge upgrades visually and audio-wise because, yeah, these used to absolutely look terrible. But I had never seen these two movies. I enjoyed them. I wouldn't say that they're my favorites in the collection. I just think that Fred Williamson is a great actor, and I really enjoyed him. He's the perfect lead for these movies, and I enjoyed them. I just wouldn't say that these are my favorite in the entire collection, but as far as those transfers go, and you're a fan of these, man, you're going to be in good neighborhood. And now my favorite one in the collection, and also has a really, really nice upgrade. I'm a big fan of the film Coffy. There's an argument to be made that this is my favorite Blaxploitation film ever. Now, I know this isn't as good of a film as Across 110th Street, but Pam Grier, she's a phenomenal actress, and you could see everything that she does in this and in Sheba Baby is something that they would carry over into Jackie Brown, and you can understand why Quentin Tarantino would want to cast her, because she is so good in this movie. A woman just out for revenge. Her sister, unfortunately, she got hooked on drugs, and she's out here now to kill all the drug dealers, get revenge on them for taking out her sister, essentially. She's not dead, but she's never going to be the same again. And of course, they also go after her cop boyfriend in this because they're just absolute monsters. But Coffy, man, don't fuck with her. She's not just a nurse. She's there to save lives, but she's also going to she's going to commit some of the best revenge that you are ever going to see. They have a shot in this movie where a head explodes. It's not as good a quality as you would see in Scanners years later, or even in Maniac. We don't have it quite yet. So, like, the cut from that, again, to show you the low-budget filmmaking, and I can understand why people might not love this movie, but you're really in it for Pam Grier. And one thing about these Blaxploitation movies is they like to put music in here, just giving you exposition in the music, and I always just find it so funny because the main villain, well, he's like the second-tier main villain. The guy George in this movie, the pimp George, every time when he first shows up, first of all, I love the pimp outfits that everybody wears in these movies. But he first shows up, he's like, George, he's a pimp, he's a pusher. George, he's a pimp, he's a pusher, yeah. And they just have so much music like this. When we get into Sheba Baby, when Pam Grier's father dies, the second he dies, a good man is dead. It's just like beaten, like where you can see what's happening. You don't need to give us the exposition through song, but it does kind of create a unique art style, I guess, for these types of films. Definitely lets you know what type of movie you're in. But I just love it when everyone's got their own theme song, and it's just so like it's just very much on the nose. That's what it is. It's just nothing is buried in there. It's, you know what they're talking about, and it's very funny to me. So anyway, Coffy's a great movie. Also has something very similar to Sheba Baby, just in the sense that in this movie somebody's getting dragged behind in a car. In Sheba Baby, they're doing it with a speedboat, so kind of up in the ante. Both have Pam Grier. Don't know if that's intentional or not. Just thought it was pretty funny. And before I move off Coffy, there are some extras on that Blu-ray disc. There are 2 interviews for Coffy, one with Jack Hill and one with Pam Grier. Not new interviews, though. Like I said, the only new extra is the documentary that's on the Blu-ray for Across 110th Street. Now, this one is Sheba Baby. Sheba Baby also has a great transfer. This one really makes the colors pop because it's a pretty colorful movie. For the most part, it takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. You really wouldn't expect that. You come inside, again, 4K Blu-ray, and on that Blu-ray in this one, not only do you get the downscaled version, the 1080p of the brand new scan, you'll have an interview with the screenwriter David Shelton. Nothing with Pam Grier, nothing with the director, but hey, it's pretty good. And this one, it's very interesting. Pam Grier plays a private eye at a time where women aren't playing private investigators, and also she's a black private investigator, so she's got all of that working against her, and nobody ever takes her seriously. But she's got to go back to her hometown, and her father's being pushed out of the business. They want him gone. And he's not doing it. He's not backing down. Classic tale you've seen in plenty of other films, and they're going to try and muscle him out. And unfortunately, they were supposed to just scare him. They end up killing him, and they killed the wrong guy because that's Pam Grier's father, and she's going to get revenge on them. And, of course, that's exactly what this movie is about. It's just a classic revenge tale, very similar to Coffy. Also has some very big has a lot more similarities to Coffy than you realize. Pam Grier is wearing some kick-ass outfits in this movie. The Mustang in this movie is absolutely beautiful. Very underrated car, in my opinion, is the 1970s model of the Mustang. People love the 60s one. I do too, but I also love the 70s one. And the colors in this movie, like there's a purple speedboat towards the end. That stuff is so beautiful now and like pops off the screen. Like all of these transfers, you know, they're not going to be something that's going to blow you away. Like 10 out of 10 transfers. If you've never seen these movies before and you're looking at them and you were to compare it to like a 2025 film on 4K Blu-ray, or even some other films like the Warner Brothers films that came out on 4K Blu-ray last week, the Clint Eastwood 4K Blu-rays, you might be disappointed. But if you have to understand how these films were made at the time, and if you've ever gone back and seen what these movies look like in the past, these 4K Blu-rays, in my opinion, are unbelievable because these films have never looked this good. A buddy of mine, Rico Gomez, said that he felt like these are very similar to the kinds of transfers that Vinegar Syndrome does. And I agree, because you're taking a movie that isn't shot the best, not the greatest of lighting, guerrilla filmmaking, we're really on location, so this isn't a controlled, so these aren't controlled studios. The audio has never been the greatest. Well, now we're making that better. Now, given the audio isn't new, none of the audio tracks are new, they've been previously released, but they're crisp and clear. Nothing pops, which is something of the era. Nothing fades in and out. It all is clear. There's still going to be some, maybe a little bit of an echo. Again, this is all stuff that just can't be fixed just because of the era of when these films were made and the budget that they had. And I think people need to understand that when you talk about 4K Blu-rays. Sometimes that's something that gets lost in the shuffle. Not every 4K Blu-ray is created equal. Even in this set, you can see it. I thought Across 110th Street, being the best film in here, probably didn't have the best 4K Blu-ray in comparison. But of course, that's the oldest film in here. Like I said, they were using a new camera, something that was unique for the time. So maybe that's why that one isn't the best. They did the same exact transfer for all of these. They scanned the camera negatives. The process was exactly the same. So the reason why some might look and sound different is just because of how they filmed them. Cameras, film stock, all of that makes a huge difference in how the 4K Blu-ray is presented to us. I just felt like Sheba Baby, 1975, beautiful looking 4K Blu-ray, and I had a great time with that one as well. And the last in the collection is Truck Turner, and this one I just had an absolute blast. So it stars Isaac Hayes, who, most people probably know him as the singer, and then maybe people know him as Chef from South Park, depending on your age, but he's also a pretty good actor himself. Not the greatest of actors, but he does a very good job in this movie. He plays a bail bondsman or a bounty hunter, and of course, just like a lot of these movies, they're pointing out the fact that he's a black bounty hunter. Of course, he doesn't take kindly to that. Why are you fucking with the guy for being a black guy doing his job? Great scene in the opening movie. They would have killed him, but he drives into a military base to get somebody. He kicks the shit out of him, brings him in. Obviously, a military base like this, they would have just shot him. You don't just drive in like that. You can't do that. I don't care if you're a bounty hunter. That's not how things work. Maybe they did in the 1970s. I don't know. This movie's over 50 years old, but who the hell knows? But the movie itself is about how he ends up killing this pimp Gator. I love that because I just think of the other guys. Gator's bitches better beware Jimmy's, which is just right out of the other guys. I don't know if they took that name Gator from this movie. It's possible, but I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. And unfortunately, when Gator dies, one of the girls working for him, basically she's upset, she's distraught, and she's going to be running the stable of whores that, he was the pimp of. And she makes a deal with the other pimps, which are great, by the way. They all come to his funeral. They're all wearing ridiculous outfits. The one white guy's got an eye patch. It's insanity. And the white guy offers $250,000 for the stable. I mean, my God, these are human beings. It's just absolutely insane. It's the 70s. Pimps were around. Pimping ain't easy. I got it. But anyway, Yafia Koto happens to be one of the other pimps, and he's the only one willing to do the violence. He's got to kill. That's a real big part of this. You have to kill Isaac Hayes' character. You have to do it, or you don't get it. I'll give you and I'll take care of everything. You just basically are in charge. You're the pimp in charge. And he's willing to do that. But of course, if you know these kinds of movies, you know how this all works out. But I just felt like Yafia Koto in this movie compared to Isaac Hayes. No offense to Isaac Hayes. He's really good in this movie for what he's asked to do. But Yafia Koto, like I said, when we were talking about Across 110th Street, this guy is one of the most underrated actors of all time, in my opinion. And when he passed away, I'm glad that people finally gave him his flowers. But I mean, with movies like Midnight Run, Blue Collars, even, I know a lot of people hate it, but Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, he just brings a certain class to films, and when you have an actor like that in this movie, I really think it helps to keep it grounded, because it can feel very silly at times, even though it's entertaining as hell, like a lot of these movies. Actually, all 6 of these movies, if you can categorize them as one thing, it's entertaining. I mean, again, like some of the squibs going off, you be like, I never even saw a bullet hit him. It's all part of the charm of these movies. They're very low budget 1970s Blaxploitation films. I assume if you're watching this video, you know all about that. You're into these kinds of movies. But if you're not, I could definitely still recommend them. Like I said, these got brand new scans of HDR and Dolby Vision. The audio wasn't upgraded. There is only one new extra, which is something I complain about. But you do get 6 movies in here. And 6 movies, if you were saying okay, maybe $20 of 4K, that's $120. That's pretty fair. It's going for about $140 right now on the time of this recording, which is before it actually comes out on Screen Factory's website for $140. And that's where I ordered from. It also came with a poster. Got it a little bit early. That's one of the perks of ordering through Shout's website themselves. And, the poster obviously is pretty cool to have. I'm not somebody who has any room to hang up all these posters. All my Shout posters are just sitting over there in a corner with, hope of eventually having more space, or eventually I'll just give them away or something. But it's cool to have. Is it worth the $140 with that hard casing on the outside? I really believe that this is one that's going to come down to how do you feel about these movies. If you're not a fan of these movies, I don't know if I can recommend a blind buy. Most of them are on Tubi. I would say check out the film first. It's not going to look good as compared to these 4K Blu-rays. It's going to look like shit, I'll be honest with you. But if you like the movie enough, then upgrade to these 4K Blu-rays because, this is something, unless you're a fan, I don't know if you'll really truly appreciate the transfers or anything like that because, like I said, it's not something that's going to compare to like a lot of other great 4K Blu-rays. It's just the quality jump from what these movies look like to what they look like now. If you're a fan, you're going to be just so fucking happy. You're just going to be so happy with these 4K Blu-rays like I was. I had an absolute blast. I watched all 6 of them, recording this on Thursday morning. I didn't get this till Saturday, so I watched all 6 of them in a 4-day period, and I just absolutely enjoyed my time with it. And if you're a fan of these movies, I think you will too. What would I give this entire Blaxploitations Volume 1 collection? I'm going to give it a pretty damn solid 8.5 out of 10. The only thing I really would have liked is some more extras. I kind of get why they didn't really go for them, but that's something that's a little bit disappointing to me. But other than that, I really think these are just very good transfers. It's just, like I said, if you were to compare them to like other collections, it's really going to come down to taste when it comes down to these types of 4K Blu-rays. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you did, don't forget the like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel membership, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John No Juggalo, a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media Reviews, Kevin Kruger, Nicholas Head, and of course Uncle V, you could do that, or you could even become a channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato. But as always, there's no pressure at all. Just hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.